Howdy, folks. Welcome to another episode of Making Dough Show, where we're dedicated and committed and obsessed with helping you make some dough in this business, obviously making it and keeping it. And so today I have a wonderful guest. Cory is the founder and the chief visionary officer of ShedWool. And I know you will love this conversation that we're going to have today. And I want to just share a little bit about him so you know who we're talking about. And so ShedWool, he's the founder of that company, is a smart shift scheduling software with over 20 years in the restaurant industry. Cory knew firsthand the pain points of this industry, and so he put a team together to create a solution to the problems that we have in the scheduling world with our staff and our restaurants. So Cory's superpower is a creative optimism, which is welcoming and draws other innovators to his circle. And he has a very large audience on LinkedIn, and he brings value to the community, not only obviously optimism and positivity, but also, which is so necessary nowadays. Everybody could use a little bit of positivity around here when things are the way they're going in the world right now. But also his leadership and as a founder, that the value that he brings to the community. So I strongly suggest you go and follow him on all these different platforms and check out ShedWool, and just to see if it will serve you and it's a good fit for your operations, especially if you're not very happy with your scheduling platform. And with that, let's get into the show. How's it going?
Amazing. How are you?
Fantastic. Cory, first, I want to hear your thoughts about how the workforce is changing. I've done multiple shows about, labor and, in terms of scheduling with restaurant owners, kind of wise ways of scheduling and not training, and kind of talking about the workforce. And usually the problem has been in the last few years, we cannot find people to fulfill a lot of the roles that we've had in our restaurants, and how the workforce is obviously changing. You see the unemployment rate, particularly in our industry. How do you see things shifting, obviously, in the workforce and the quality of the workforce with the rate of unemployment and all that's going on in our industry?
So I think to the restaurant industry, and that this may be revolutionary for some people to hear, I think it's going to turn into a gig economy. I don't think that restaurants are going to have full-time wait staff. I don't think you're going to go and say, is Rosie here? I've had her waiting on me every day for the last 12 years. I think that professional waiters, professional bartenders, professional, line cooks, sous chefs, food runners, I think they're going to start working as many days a week as they want at the places that they want. I think people are really going to use that almost as a way to position themselves as a brand. I also think that I see a lot of people that are going to be using this to go pick up a shift when and where they want to supplement their income as they drive Uber, as they deliver Amazon packages, as they begin to teach online courses. I've seen so many people from the restaurant industry begin to get certified as an executive coach, go out and try sales. I had people selling software for me. They came from the restaurant industry. I don't think 6 months ago we would have ever seen a waiter go out and try to sell tech.
Wow.
I think people selling tech, people had been doing it for years and went to college for it. And now it's people that were slinging, ribeyes and baked potatoes a few months ago. So I really think that shift is going to be revolutionary for the industry.
I think that's such an interesting point. Are you seeing also a lot of folks who are in college work restaurants, historically speaking, always, and a lot of colleges are going to be doing things online and things like that. Are you saying that you're seeing people not to just have one client being working for one restaurant, but rather they're going to be driving and working a few hours here, working a few hours there? Is that what you're kind of saying? That they're going to be doing multiple things? Maybe they sell software during the day, at night they're working at a restaurant, on their days off they're driving. Is that what you're saying?
Not as much, although I see that as well. What I'm saying is that as a professional waiter, I think that, and I haven't waited tables in years, and doubt I'll ever do that again for a living, but maybe I'll go guest wait a table or something. But what I do think we'll see is that the professional waiters might go on their phone and see, who needs a waiter for the next night. Maybe I can go into Sullivan's and work a shift, especially something like what we're building with ShedWool, where you can upload the table configuration, you can upload the P-mix or the a little test to make sure they know what the ingredients are that go into the Caesar salad or whatever it is. I think we're going to see people working at multiple locations almost as a contractor. So I don't think this steakhouse is going to have 10 full-time waiters. I think they may have their one or two guys that's all they want. I think they might have 30, 40 waiters that rotate through as needed, that are also waiting tables down the street, waiting tables in their hometown, whatever it is. So I really think it's going to be a lot more of a gig economy with a lot of moving pieces.
That's fascinating. And as it unfolds, I totally agree with you. So that leads me to this other question is that, so interestingly, a lot of the software companies that do scheduling, like ShedWool, is that, you are predicting per se the future, you're predicting next week's sales, and obviously allocating a percentage of labor suggestion, or you're projecting sales. And it's been so hard in the last few months for a lot of restaurant owners because things shift, like the news, they come up with something in the CDC and then the next week sales kind of goes down because that's just the mood of the whole town, and obviously depending on where you're located in the country. But how do you see that shifting for a restaurant owner when you're trying to schedule people? And it's kind of interesting, you're saying in conjunction with the, viewing scheduling people more as a gig. And one of our problems is with delivery. Sometimes you have so many deliveries come at the same time, sometimes you don't have any. It's just it's become hard for us as restaurant owners predict and project next week as our managers are trying to do the scheduling and all that. So what are your thoughts on that and how shifting, and if you have any tips for, how to do the best with what we've got in here?
So the reason I started ShedWool 5 years ago is I realized that restaurants weren't using data to properly staff their locations. So they were always either overstaffed or understaffed every single day of the week. You walk into a restaurant, there's 6 waiters standing around a table, and
Yep.
so they're making a sixth of the money that they should, or you're waiting 15 minutes for your water to get to the table. You drink it all because you've been waiting 15 minutes, and it sits in front of you empty for another 15 minutes because
Yes.
they're understaffed. The data always existed. Had they actually taken and scrutinized and leveraged the data, they would have had 2 people. And the data was there. And as we move into this, quote unquote new norm or this different thing, the data points are still there. And I started ShedWool 5 years ago because I thought on-call shifts were preposterous. If you're going to need these 5 people on Wednesday on the patio. If not, take a look at the news, take a look at the weather. And now you don't need to wait until 1 that afternoon when they can no longer get childcare if they need it, or when they can no longer tell that guy or girl they want to go on a date with, hey, turns out I'm going to be free in 2 hours. And the worst thing is when you don't know when you're working, you can't forecast your income, right? If you say I might work 5, hey, Cory, you might work 5 days next week, we'll let you know that the day of. Well, now I might work 2 days and I might be having to live off of 40% of the income that I had been promised or that I'd been anticipating. But again, all the data existed there. So what I think, and what we're working to is ShedWool, and this, of course, is not an advertisement for ShedWool other than my signature T-shirt. But the data is there. The data is still there. The CDC, that is data points. It can inform a scheduling software or management team. Things like the weather. The sun actually helps kill the virus. If it's a sunny day, you can pretty much use data to forecast that more people will both be indoors and on the patio, and your delivery will go down. Another thing is, you know from the pizza industry, you might not know when all the deliveries are going to start coming in, but when they start coming in, they're going to keep coming in.
You identify that pattern. In fact, a lot of times it's for the day, even when your lunch is really busy, you already kind of predict, I don't know what it is, the mood of the town. It's just everybody gets hungry at the same time. So you sense that it's coming before it goes to be like crash and burn. You need to take some action there.
Well, and let's even take it the slightest step further, because I know you're in a smaller community. If your whole town ordered pizza for lunch, they're not ordering it for dinner.
Oh yeah, that too.
So there's a data point, right? You now know maybe your couple of staff, you don't need all the delivery drivers sitting around making no money. No one's eating pizza. Everyone in your town already had pizza. So this is kind of right. We always seek to find, we typically like to have about 100 data points to help inform our customers about their staffing and their scheduling, upcoming. But I think that it's very difficult for a manager, a human being, to process all of those data and make an informed decision, but it's very easy for a computer. It's right. All those data points are just literally waiting to be pulled and to be analyzed. So that's what I see moving forward. And that's what I've been kind of proactively on the front lines of.
So you're simply saying that what has not changed is for us to obviously look at the data of the past and identify those trends and patterns. So those patterns may have shifted slightly, but those patterns are still there. And obviously you can utilize the software to kind of look at many different data points, obviously, than a person can or a manager can. But you're saying that those things are still valid, because I feel like, and when I speak with our manager, he is going to tell me that, oh, things are changing, I can't predict. Again, we're going through these seasons of sometimes we're over scheduling. This week we're under scheduling, sales is good. So whatever it is. So it is kind of interesting what you're saying, that the data is still there to study, but we need to kind of be masterful. Again, either you're going to use a software. And I think even if you use a software, I think as a business owner or manager, you need to get great at studying numbers. It's going to be so insightful to just help you make wiser decisions as a whole.
Yeah, but the one other thing that I would highlight is the data is what's valuable, but the patterns aren't. So in my decades in the
Okay.
restaurants, they were always looking at what our sales were this date last year, what we did
Correct.
historically, what, okay,
Which is
so
no longer
last,
valid, because what was last year and
well,
this year are
so
really different.
it's completely invalid for the first time ever. It used to
Yes.
be that you could take actual data, historical data, and you could use it to forecast. And you look at your
Yeah.
P&L and you understand that your spoilage was this and whatever it might be. You have to throw all of that out the window now. That's no longer data. But the actual
Yeah.
data points, what the weather is. I mean, we right now know there are no games, so there's no, everyone's getting out of the stadium at 6:30 and they're all going to want pizza. But those
Yeah.
type of data points in real time, the ones that have nothing to do with 6 months ago when we lived in a different world, right?
We did
What
live
is
in
the data
yeah.
right now? The data right now is available for right now. And I think once people harness that and
Mhm.
understand, certain ways to really make sense of it and to use that, from a at least slightly automated perspective to really
Yeah.
help inform some of these decisions, I think we're going to see labor percentages go down. We're going to see morale and retention go up. At the end of the day, that impacts the customer's seats in the, and they all leave happier and tell all their friends about how amazing their pizza was. So
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. And also I wanted to, that leads to this other question I have for you, is that, as a leader, a manager or a restaurant owner, it doesn't matter. When you go through these uncertainties, again, initially when this whole thing started, and I wanted to ask you that, what tips do you have for someone leading a team or a company and having a positive outlook, though you really don't know the future? So you can always say, oh, things are going to work out, or this and this and this. But on the other hand, you see the numbers are, a lot of restaurants going through this tough season, partly because, again, you don't know if things are getting better or things are getting worse. And so what tips do you have as a leader managing a group of people? How to have that positive outlook and optimism for the team? Because as you mentioned, it affects their morale as well, that how they serve customers as we going through this very bumpy road. Everybody is, no matter who we are. So what are your thoughts on that?
so I'm big on empathy, and I think the empathetic leaders are the ones that are really going to see, positive results. But at the end of the day, I think that from a management perspective, right, assistant general manager, floor manager, people at that level, it's the time to be a man or a woman of the people. Side with your employees, not your ownership. Make sure that if they're not making what they're used to live at that restaurant, let them know about a place down the street that needs someone on Thursdays. Let them know that Amazon's paying $20 an hour to go to the warehouse and bring packages. I think so many people are protective over their people. Oh, if I go let them bartend at the
Mhm.
sports bar on Saturdays, we're going to lose them. I think the time to be greedy and the time to come from that place of lack is over. I think managers need to empower. Hey, I get you're only making $300 a week working here, rather than ask you to eat ramen and and drop out of college. How about I introduce you to my buddy that's got a call center that's doing remote, right? Make an extra $300 a week. And now you're making
Yeah.
600. And if you're the manager that helps your waiter making $300 a week double their income, and half that comes from you, they're going to love you. They're going to love your restaurant. They're going to stick around more. They become your advocates. They start engaging with your restaurant pages on social. I mean, everything that you wish and wanted them to do, just by listening and making sure they're okay. So, unfortunately, I still see in my life and in my circles, I still see managers trying to say, well, of course we're not going to let this person go wait tables down the street, or of course we don't want to let them know that they can make more money, drive an Uber. But I think the people that are putting themselves, in that share of, we want you to succeed, we don't want your life to suck, the restaurant might be losing money right now, but that doesn't mean that you need to be, going to sleep hungry. I think just that empathy and that siding with the workers rather than the ownership is going to be huge.
I think that's a great point you're saying, and I know how hard it is doing that. The truth is that they are already, the employees are already looking around because especially if they're not making what they were making before, and they have bills, all of the stuff. So I guess, it is critical to be honest and in the management side, communicate where we're at. We're trying to do our best to grow our sales, but this is what we can offer. And again, as you said, kind of looking to asking them to, hey, you may need to work at 2 different restaurants or 2 different things. And I can see, and I know how hard that is, what you're saying, because you have this fear of losing people, but we've always in this industry, we lose people, we gain people. And that means that we need to be much better at leading. We need to get better at growing ourselves. Even during these times, because this is just what it is. But I feel like if we have that approach, as you're saying, of being a better leader, be empathetic, I feel like people will also understand, maybe leave a little while, maybe they come back. We've had a lot of people come back that they may have quit, they went and work somewhere else and they come back. We've had dozens of team members come back. And I think that it is important to keep our reputation. At least you can keep them as a customer, because if your food is good, at least they will come back for that, right? So,
and tell their friends.
And tell their friends, yeah.
And I do want to highlight you and your show and your reputation, because people talk, you're right. It doesn't surprise me to hear you've had dozens of employees come back, because, the grass is never as green on the other side as you might
Yeah.
think. But you, the nuggets that you share, the guests that you have on, and just what you are freely offering to people in the industry that I spent half of my life in is very, very needed, very, very refreshing. And
Well,
I'm
thank
just,
you.
yeah, I probably spent years looking for you or someone doing exactly what you're doing. And when I stumbled on your YouTube channel, and I actually, one of the people that works for me as well, and said, you need to check out this show. And it's been months. I'm a huge fan. So I'm
Thank
stoked
you.
to be on. Oh, you're very
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Thank you so much, Cory. And you're as well very generous with the community, and I appreciate that very much. I do check all of your videos, particularly on LinkedIn, and I think that it is very important during these times for us to serve one another. Again, as we get through this bumpy road, all of us, we just don't know what the future holds, but we do know that we can help one another the best we can getting through that. So I wanted to as well talk a little bit about the ShedWool and the software solution that you guys provide, particularly in the light of for restaurant owners. Why should people come and check you guys out? What are some of the benefits that you want to make sure people know about so they can take advantage of that and save some money, and again, schedule people more properly? So as you said, it builds morale so people can predict. No one likes unpredictability. So that is kind of very nice what you guys are able to provide with your scheduling software. So if you would please share a little bit about that, I'd appreciate it.
I would love to. So I'm not going to name any competitors by name. I wish all of them a lot of luck as well. And I've used half of them as a restaurant veteran. However, what we've sought to do is we've sought to build something that's very intuitive, that gives our users, specifically in the restaurant industry, what they need without giving them things that they don't. A lot of the competitive products, for me, have the features I would have never needed, because they were there. The buttons get so small, you can't push them. And so sometimes you almost would rather not use something, although it could have been awesome, because it's just a little more than you needed. I think a lot of industries need all of those bells and whistles. The restaurant industry doesn't. People want to see when they're working. They want to be able to swap shifts if and when they want to. They want to be able to pick up a available free shift if they're wanting to make some more money and they're available. They want to have a solid communication platform. And in times like COVID, if an entire staff can understand what's going on with the delayed opening, or with, someone on staff has the illness. One of the things we're building in is an actual way for the restaurants to test their staff before they come in to make sure that no one is symptomatic. We begin to touch things like training. We are building a hiring component both for full-time, part-time, and temporary workers as well. So if a restaurant needed a dishwasher or bartender on a Saturday night, push a button, goes out into the community using social proof. Building things in like geofencing so people can clock in and out through the app. We're looking at some integrations with some wireless point of sales so that the waiters can actually take payment, place orders through their phones or their handheld devices. So, we find that so many things touch scheduling. And if we can be at that epicenter and help with things like sales contests and initiatives, training new staff, gamifying their work. If someone routinely stays extra, maybe not even making any extra money, or someone's routinely getting amazing reviews on TripAdvisor or Yelp, to be able to document and to be able to accrue points there can really help gamify and incentivize them, but it can also help them stay with your establishment. If in 6 months they have 80 points, 100 points getting something they've been excited about for 6 months, they're not going to leave, right? So all these kind of things that can really help make employees' lives better. Also, the legislation coming out around scheduling, Fair Work Week, predictive scheduling, a lot of ownership, a lot of management are really scared of. So we're trying to really, mitigate some of that fear. We're really trying to say, listen, yeah, you have to do this, and we're not the ones saying it, the government is, but if you have to do this, let's have it be as easy and profitable as possible and turn this into a net positive. So that's kind of what we're doing. I encourage anyone to check us out. We have apps for the App Store on iOS, Google Play for Android. We've also got a web version and a website. So if anybody's curious, ShedWool.com, or check us out on any of the software review sites. Our users, we've been very fortunate. They have nothing but good things to say about us. And so far, I haven't spent any money to have to get rid of anything bad. So we're batting 1,000.
That's great. And I think one of the points you mentioned is that, you want a solution that is easy to use. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's hard to use and as you said, I know how it is, what you're saying, and some of the competitors I've seen, there's so many features that, and sadly, a lot of our people are not that tech savvy. So it is very important, particularly in our industry, in the restaurant industry, you want a solution that is easy, that is quick. So I love hearing those words. So I encourage everybody to go to check ShedWool.com, and there is also a free trial, isn't that? Somebody can sign up to just test it.
Oh, yeah.
Just to see how it works. Particularly during these times, I think it is absolutely critical to have a smart scheduling tool that is by your side, like your ally, helping you, because obviously as we go through these times, for sure. So thank you so much, Cory, for your time. And we'll catch you up on LinkedIn. Do you also on other platforms for people to follow you?
Yeah, I'm a little bit less active on other platforms because LinkedIn just has been so, they receive me so well and warmly, but it's also frankly been a great traction channel. But I'm active on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Perfect.
I am on Snapchat, although I don't know what that means. And I have a TikTok, but I've been told I'm not as funny as I thought. And now it's getting banned around the world. So
we've all been told that. It's all right. It's all right. All right. Thank you so much, Cory. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Sure. And I will have the links in the description, and I'll have the bio as well there. I do want to respect your time. I don't know what time it is. It is 11:44. So again, I don't know if you have something else going on. I really enjoyed our chat. It was very insightful for me. I feel as well in any industry, it's always good to hear from people that view the industry you're in a different angle. They will have an insight and a perspective that you can't see. You know what I mean? So I think it's the tips you gave were incredibly important. So I really appreciate it. I'm gonna have to think about some of those stuff that you said and how we need to pivot, because I don't know about you guys with your thing. I'm sure you're trying to do the same, but we all are trying to pivot, and as things are changing, to figure out how can we come up with better solutions for our people and our community. So we're still standing years to come. So
yeah, no, and you are going to thrive. Let's have another chat soon, just to keep the conversation going. But please keep me as close to what you're doing on LinkedIn as possible, so I can be as supportive as possible.
Thank you.
When you send me you're welcome. When you send me the links, my team will kind of pull out some nuggets. We will be putting it on all my channels. I'll have both my personal social media team as well as my ShedWool marketing communications team do that. We'll point everyone towards you, towards your channels. It's not only the least I can do, but it's a pleasure. It's anymore I get really picky. I probably had 15 people in the last week or so. Well, no, I had more than that. But I probably had 20 people in the last 2 weeks asked me to be on their podcast. I probably said yes to 5. Used to be I said yes to absolutely everyone. But I'm trying to make sure right now things are going to be productive, on brand, that I can add value as well. And so, it is a testament to you and what you're doing that I am on the show even. But it means nothing other than I really like what you're doing.
Oh, I appreciate that. I totally understand. And I respect your time, and know that it means a lot. All the stuff that you're telling me means the world to me.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.
Have a wonderful day, Cory. Yeah, we'll be in touch. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.